So, how accurate we are.
Okay, just all right. We are live. I'm coming to you live from 150 miles from the Arctic Circle, and yes, it's already light at 3 in the morning. So Phyllis got up at 4, and I took her for a walk, and it's daylight out. So there we are.
Yeah, I'm in La Puente, which is a small city outside of Los Angeles, California. It's a beautiful day. It's kind of cool, like it is normal here in California. So we'll be here for a couple of days, and then we will be going back to Vegas, and then we'll be coming back here to the Woodland Hills to go to the Science Fiction and Family Writers of America, which they're actually international and global. So we'll be there, and I'll see you there, Craig.
Indeed, I leave in just a few days. Today's the 11th. I leave in 4 days. I get there on Wednesday. Flying in to almost Woodland Hills. I fly into Burbank, and then I'll take a cab out to the hotel. And
make sure you look out the window. In Burbank, when you're flying in, the first time I did that, I didn't realize it. And I'll go looking over, and then I'm seeing people in their their work office, in one of their little buildings up there for 20 stories. I'm like, what the hell? Why can't I see what type of paper she's using? This shit's close.
Right there.
Yes.
Indeed. That's where we'll be. And a week from today, 20 books, Woodland Hills, almost Burbank, definitely not LA, unless you want to argue about it, and then it can be LA. I don't care. It's where we'll be, the local peasant, from 11 to whenever. I'm thinking 1 to whatever we talk. We do need to. I think the mass signing where Lawrence M. Schoen and John Brazy, I believe, Yuda will be there doing the signing as well. So we probably need to take them some chow, and so shooting for 11 to 1 or sometimes they're about just chatting, talking. We have 50 people signed up, so. We'll be there. We're not in Burbank, beautiful downtown. We're not in Burbank. We're touching Burbank just to drive through to Woodland Hills, as I've been instructed that Woodland Hills is not Burbank.
Now, who would have potentially have instructed you about that?
Somebody who probably lives in LA. I don't know. I don't know. It's all freaking LA to me. I mean, it's just a massive quantity of people. It's like 1 billion times the number of people who live in Alaska. So. There we are.
We appreciate you coming down here and talking with us. So what are we talking about, man? What are we talking about?
Today, I've seen a lot of comments and a lot of posts on people frustrated because they can't find readers. They've got a book. They think it's a great book. They've got a cover. They think it's a great cover. And I don't know. I don't check out these things. People don't post links because you don't want to self-promo. But they're having trouble finding readers. And that is an ongoing that has always been an issue. Some people make it easier than others. Some make it look easy, but it's never easy. Touching the nose of a reader and then keeping that reader on board are mutually supporting issues. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. It was finding readers. How do you find people to read your stuff?
All right. And then do you have some ideas already because you were working on this stuff in the background?
I am. I'm working on the book Release Strategies, and actually I'm very close to being finished. We'll be able to review it this week in almost Burbank.
You giving me freaking homework?
No, I'll sit side saddle with you, and we'll be stuffing our faces or stuffing our pie holes with burgers or who knows what. But you were talking. I think you had the best analogy before we came live about fishing.
Yes.
Why don't you go through that?
Well, the whole thing about it is, for those that don't fish, you basically have some sort of rod with a hook and you have bait on it. And that bait then has to be put into the appropriate location to acquire the fish of your type, the fish that you want. So if you look at fish, and by the way, I've only done some fishing, but I can, even what I've done is like catfish does not have the same bait as like a bass in general. You might be able to capture them both with the same thing, but that would be equivalent to, what the hell are you doing?
I was going to put a new, I have a new to-do on my list.
Okay. So anyway, going back to my analogy. So what I was looking at it, and I go back to my romance boondoggle, and I thought I had done a romance, but then I had to tweak it to the way I wanted to see it done, and I tweaked it well enough that I went off the normal tropes of what everyone or the normal bait you would get for romance. And then, I acted where I did covers that were a little bit different than what everyone else did. And by that time, I had not provided something that was interesting to the general romance population. And so when I threw my bait into the water, no one really wanted to snag a whole lot. So even though a few did, those that knew me from my science fiction side, they read it, they liked it, but they were already on board. So trying to find new readers, I didn't hit the mark, So you do need to know where are they residing, and once again, that goes bound to or back to writing to a particular market that has a large pool. So it would, but if you have a unique pool, so a very low population of fish, you need to understand what exactly is going to cause them to come out of where they're at to come search out your bait, what you're providing, or you have to go find them, which is just difficult. The reality is you have to understand what is the market. This is a business kind of focused product or program that we're talking about. You have to find the market and go find them. So, if you want to find individuals who like Japanese style romance with a superhero bent, which might be rather unique. Well, how are you going to find them? So you have to figure that out. So finding readers, other ways that are more generically known, of course, reader magnets, where you advertise on Facebook and you offer a book in the genre. You don't have to have a book already written. You could just offer books that you've paid for, because you can certainly pay and send emails, links to books that are there. So if you believe that people who are J.K. Rowling's fans, maybe there's a 4-box set that you would like to, ship them. So depending on what country you ship them to. Or,
Yeah.
you can get a hold of other authors who have things that are for free and just get their permission and say, I'd like to wrap up your free book you already give away because I think you're going to be in the genre. Would you be okay with this? And send that. So that is acquisition for email list. If you're not receiving it, and Craig, you mentioned someone's concerned earlier a little bit. We didn't go into the details to try to find out what the book was or why. But if someone's not getting on your email list, all right, so are they actually reading the book? So assuming that they are, then your offer letter, your offers at the end of the book, well, are they even getting there? Meaning, is your prose what they expected in the first place? And if they're closing the book, they'll never see the opportunity to come get on your email list. Is the email list offer easy to see right when they close the book? And are you asking in a way that would encourage them to do so? Finally, is your email list sign up even working? Can you ask a few people to see whether or not linking in the back of the book goes to this and it actually occurs? Any of those things could be a problem, including the email list provider that you use. So there's a lot of caveats to why someone might not be signing up on your email list. But, finding other readers, certainly engaging with like-minded authors and doing swaps is something that's been done quite a bit, encouraging them. I created my author notes, and I think it's used quite a bit now, but, I'm very conversational in the back. So when someone finishes the book and it's like, hey, this is Michael Anderle, and I'll just talk about myself, and it's like, hey, all of us indie authors really need your reviews, because that's how people decide whether or not to purchase our book. So if you like this book, I'd really appreciate it if you do. And please sign up on, my email list. You have to make a call to action. If you want people to connect in any other way than 1 per 500 or 1 per 1,000, you need a good call to action. See what a few other people are doing in the back of their books and do the same, especially in your genre. Find the ones who are really killing it in your genre. Download their book on Kindle Unlimited or pay for it and go to the back and find, where do they ask for emailed signups, and get on their emails. Find out what they're doing in their emails. Not all of us have to be creative on the business side. We just have to understand how others are doing it, and without ripping them off, do something similar.
Yeah, I like that, talking about email lists and newsletters. I know there are people who are successful without them. T.S. Paul, R.J. Blaine also doesn't use an email list anymore. But the engagement, it's how you engage with your readership in a way that you keep them on board. Because the big thing is that they're waiting and ready to pounce whenever you have a new release, because they love your stuff. That's why people sign up for a newsletter. So you have to have that stuff that they love. And that starts with you got to have the cover that gets them to the story, or the blurb that gets them into the story. And even if it's the look inside feature of Amazon, so they can take a look-see, is this what we want? And that is reading a book that Michael recommended. The reason that look inside feature It's to replicate the physical presence of a bookstore. If you're in a bookstore, you look at the book, you look at the cover, you maybe flip it over, look at the back, and then you might flip through the first few pages. That's why Amazon put the look inside feature in there. So it's neat to learn about those kinds of things and why they are the way they are, because it's the browsing. And if somebody likes that first chapter, then they roll right in and, hey, snap it shut. I'm not going to stand here and read forever. Although in Barnes and Noble, you can sit down, get a coffee, and read forever, and then put it back on the shelf if you want. But you want them to then buy the book. And the good thing with the digital world is they can only read so far, and then now they really do have to buy the book if they want to continue. So we always harp on make that first chapter. Mickey Spillane said it, and this is from the 40s and 50s. The first chapter sells this book. The last chapter sells the next book. And the last chapter is where you say the end. And oh, by the way, if you like this book, please leave a review. And here's my email list if you'd like to stay on board. So finding readers, getting back to that. That's how you keep readers on board. If they sign up for your newsletter list, then you have hit those marks, and you can celebrate your victory. And every new reader who signs up on your newsletter is a good one, especially them. I call them orgasmic, the all natural readers.
That would be organic, Mr. Martelle.
Oh, is that what the word is?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's okay. Organic.
So your orgasmic readers, the ones who come over from your book and then sign up. And if you can, I didn't do this, but you need to have that as a separate list. That's your A team. Those are your organic, your readers who liked your stuff, as opposed to list builders, where you throw a book out there or a short story with a group of people, and then everybody consolidates these, sends them out to their lists, and promotes them, and you get a mass quantity of emails, and then you get a high unsubscribe rate. But if it's not 100%, then you have the chance of having one more reader on board. So you can do those, finding readers. So you getting group promotions is a way to find readers, because it really is a numbers game. If you have 100,000 people and only 1% buy your book, you've sold 1,000 books. Now, does it pay for your newsletter list management and all that, and the promotions and all that other stuff? So you have to look at it from a business side. But it's a numbers game, and this is one thing that Mark E. Cooper talked about a few years ago. Is he had a list of 30,000 people, and although he didn't have 100% open and buy rate, he had a pretty good one, like 25%. So with a new release, he would have 7,000, 8,000 sales off his list. So, I mean, that pays for a lot of stuff if you have that many people engaged in buying. So 25% of 100,000, and I believe Mark Dawson's list is 100,000, and he works constantly. This is Mark Dawson, right? But he still works constantly to add people to his newsletter. So one of his finding readers efforts, and you'll find that in his ads for authors class, or the SPF 101 specifically, on how he uses various methodologies to build his readership, those who he can hit with his newsletter. The phishing. So you have to use the right bait. I've experienced this with a few different books. I don't have a fantasy list, so there's nothing I can do with a fantasy series that I'm publishing for Craig A. Price and Angelique Anderson. Great covers, great stuff. How are we building that on a fantasy side? So we're going a different way through some different Facebook groups and touching different noses, because the pond I'm fishing in isn't the fantasy pond. It's science fiction. I mean, science fiction and fantasy are clumped together, but they are different readership in a lot of cases. So science fiction, I have that. I have my core readership. I have the organic readers. I have those who are on board, but now the deliverability of those newsletters. So how do I find those readers again who are on board but not getting my newsletter? And that is, I use a lot of Facebook. I trust Facebook with the engagement part. So we're trying different things, like putting a link in the comments, like having the readers put links in the comments. Hey, this book is out. Find the link, enter for a chance to win a coffee cup. By not putting a link in it and making it look like an update post with a picture, that touches a lot of noses. So using that as a methodology, and using ads, don't boost posts. You can boost posts and they do okay, but but real ads, set those up, have a graphic without text on it. All that stuff you learn in Michael Cooper's book on Facebook advertising.
You're dropping a lot of names here. Would these names actually be showing up anytime soon in Vegas?
All of them are coming to Vegas. Yes. Which Mark Dawson will be there with his whole team: James Blatch, Tom Ashford, and James Blatch. I'm sorry, Tom. I suck. I forgot your name. I could look it up, but then I would be looking around and not at the screen. But Tom and John will be there along with James Blatch and Mark Dawson. Mark Dawson is giving the keynote for 20 Books Vegas on Tuesday night, and Michael Cooper is giving a presentation. We have Felicia Beasley giving a presentation on intro to Amazon ads. Just depends where you are. Michael Cooper will throw out a lot of words very, very quickly because he speaks ridiculously fast. He asked for an hour, so I gave him an hour. So he's going to squeeze an hour and a half worth of material into that hour. So you have to listen. You have to listen closely, and he's going to throw out a lot of stuff. So make sure you go to the right presentation. All the presentations will be recorded.
So we're going to record Michael's and do it in 1/3 time or 2/3 time, like the old albums, and get him down to a normal route.
That's right. Play the 45 record at 33 for us oldsters. We are going to have a lot of horsepower at the show, talking about advertising and networking and reaching readers, and how do we do that, and the opportunities in Vegas for the 1,000 people who are going to show up. 1,000, is that crazy or what, man? When we ran that first poll, 150 people responded, yes, I'd love to have a conference. 150 back in 2017. So and we go there, and you find out that we actually don't talk about our butts as much as we try to steer the conversations in that direction.
Okay,
we don't.
Okay, it's not we. Let's try to get this right here, Kemosabe. It's not we trying to tingle. And this his alter ego, Craig Martelle here. Just tried to time that correctly with you swallowing the coffee there. Yeah, but so I was trying to talk about just a second ago was the fact that, we'll have 1,000 people, but people are also just spreading out all over the city to go do cool things. Some of us are going to go to there's some sort of firearm, go shoot massive machine guns, which is relevant for being able to write the space marine opera that we do. We need to get the verisimilitude correctly, so that's going to be a write-off. And at least I sure as heck hope so. And moving forward on that, but there's so many different things that you can do there. So people are coming in with the families and making a weekend out of it, and we'll probably do it even a little bit bigger next year. So
yeah, we hate turning people away, and that's you don't know how much friction that and stress that causes me personally, because I want the best show possible at the lowest cost to impact as many people as humanly possible in a way that changes their lives. I mean, we have set a pretty damn high goal. The only thing we want to do is change your life for the better. I mean, it's not asking a whole lot from us. So for $139.99, can you meet somebody, a group of somebodies who help you fish, who help you have put better bait on your hook to then cast your hook upon the waters and draw in those readers, or even it's changing something just a little bit. Sometimes it's only that little thing that makes such a big difference in your life. So that's what we're trying to do. Vegas is our flagship conference. It's the one that we're going to focus all of our effort on. And for next year, 2020, we are shooting for a venue that will hold 2,000 people, because we don't want to turn anyone away. And we're still going to record all the main sessions, so anybody can see them. Same thing with Vegas this year. We'll have 1,000 people there, but we're going to record all 3 main rooms that are presenting simultaneously. So there should be about, I think it's 25, 27 hours worth of sessions that will be videoed and made available on YouTube, as well as live. You can watch it on Facebook Live. Because
so if you're in other countries, what would stop you and some friends getting together and either at a house or a restaurant or a building or whatever you need and streaming these things yourself? Nothing technically is stopping you.
One thing we're going to do is we'll have the the person doing the video capture will have their own login, and they'll be watching live on Facebook while they're doing the live stream. And if questions pop up, hey, coming to you, hey, we're in Australia and we have a question about this, they can run that question up during the question and answer session after a presentation as a possibility. We may have a lot of people in line, so it may or may not work. But that's what we're going to try to do. So being engaged, and hey, we just asked a question from Italy, and they asked it at 20 Books Vegas. I mean, who else is doing that for indie authors around the world? Every time zone. We have somebody from every time zone who's going to be watching. And even if you can't watch live, it's still okay. Bring up the YouTube videos, get a pizza, a Chicago pizza, as Yuta called it, a direct assault on his arteries, and enjoy a beverage and watch the videos and talk about them and become better. Make your lives better. Give yourselves those hints, those tips, those tricks, the things you're missing, fill those gaps, like, say, finding readers. What other things do you do to find readers, Michael?
So one of the things that we certainly did is we created collaborative series so that if someone wasn't particularly, engaged with the first series, well, we gave them another one. Well, when you go book one of a new series and a new cover, you get a chance to find someone again in the same genre or in a adjacent genre, or we've done it to where we've moved completely to opposite genres. So we have books in paranormal, science fiction, urban fantasy, romance, little bit action adventure, or a whole lot of men's action adventure. And because we deliver a very similar dopamine hit, the emotional pull for our books, it's very often that if you like one type of our books, then you're going to like others. And so just by casting a very wide net with a large backlist, we've been finding readers, that when Chris Raymond, CM Raymond, Ellie Brabant did The Age of Magic, and they did their own series, they chose to place in there something referencing the two main characters from the first arc, which in the timeline is hundreds of years before, but fans would be curious. So they created curiosity about this one couple, Michael and Bethany Ann, which Michael was not named after me, damn it. But anyway, these people, and so readers would then go back and try to find the first set. So you're finding more readers by getting them connected in through different series. The back matter of your books, if you're not doing anything in the back matter to point out that there are other books that you have, you need to. I've been reading a lot of lit RPG in the last year, and you'll find that some of the other authors will mention their really good friends in the back of their book. It's like, if you like my books, try reading these books here, here, and here. These guys, here are the link to their pages. You're going to find that you do. It is beneficial to connect with a few people that are like-minded and support each other. A very collaborative methodology to help transfer readers, because frankly, for the whale readers or the other ones that are in this, they're reading faster than you can write. And so there's benefit in sharing what's going on. In fact, that's where this all came about. 20 Books of 50K was an opportunity for me to help share with my readers how to write. And then I would also share the books and the other authors out there, because I wasn't writing fast enough to support my readers. So, we do that. Now, Dragon Con, we mentioned before how that is a place. Are you aware that if you do Facebook ads that you can, narrow in on a particular geographical location? Are you aware where Dragon Con is? And do you want to actually target during Dragon Con that area? I think it's Atlanta, Georgia, right? That it's listed. That's the hometown. For the days leading up to, during, and slightly after Dragon Con for people who want to learn readers. So just target that area. Do your ads at that moment. Think outside the box occasionally and find out what's going on. If you look on Facebook, Facebook will tell you where your readers are coming from, if you have enough of them, or your fans. Go and target that particular area. Anything that you do, it's really about discoverability. How are you making your books, your stories, yourself available in enough places for people to stumble over you, stumble upon you? So, we do it. We do a lot of ads. We're testing new technologies out on Facebook. We're going after Google ads to see if we can find out, if we can crack that market. We're not doing Instagram, but I'm hearing a ton of Instagram stuff. Give away your books. The POD, if you look at the cost or acquisition of a reader right now, if we did my numbers, let's say it's $12 cost per acquisition for a new Curtherian Gambit reader, but I know I make $30. It's not a big deal, right? I can do the numbers. But what if I could just go and give away, 100 books to a local charity that really needs them? If you can find that, then there's a lot of people in hospitals, like we had spoken before.
Mhm.
If your book is relevant, especially if you have humorous ones, get people's mind off of the situation that they're in right now. The downside, of course, if it's too humorous, they could break their, whatever stitches that they have. So, think outside the box, but finding readers is both, it's not technically hard because you don't have to be sophisticated enough to understand it, but it's a lot of work. And we keep coming back to this over and over again. It is a lot of work. If you don't wish to do all of the work, then get a partner who wants to do the other part of the work. We'll have a panel related to husband-wife teams, and who's going to be speaking on that? That's
I have not yet asked a couple of the. I know James Hunter and Janine will be there. I believe Dakota and his wife will be there,
Danielle.
and some other folks I have not yet asked.
Okay.
Although I will, and high powered all.
Okay, so husband-wife teams happen to do this. Brothers, we know a set of brothers out of England that are doing it as well. I got to see them at London Book Fair, and so there's other opportunities. I ask a lot of people now, where are you on that continuum of 1 to 10? 1 is throw a pizza and a Coke under the door, let me write. That's it. That's the only interaction I want whatsoever. And then as you get towards a 5 on the scale, you're more outgoing, you're a little bit more sociable, and then in the 4, 5, 6, you're starting to go over to the fact that you like the business side of things. A 4 is you kind of tolerate it, but a 6 is you kind of actually like it more than writing. And then you get all the way to the 10, where that 10 person is like, don't ask me about plot, character, anything. I just want to do the numbers. I just want to do advertising. I just want to sell product. And then if you're a 1, find yourself a 10. If you're a 3, find yourself a 7. If you really like it, you're right there in that 4, 5, 6 range. Work to your heart's content. Just recognize that you're going to have to work twice as hard or take you twice as long. It doesn't matter. We're a marathon here, folks. We're not a sprint. It feels like a sprint quite often. That's because a lot of us who've had massive success, when people see massive success, everyone wants to know, how did you do it? And if a lot of us that are doing the massive success are doing it through the same consistent methodology, everyone's going to start talking in the little echo chamber that this is how you do it. No, it can be done multiple different ways. It just so happens that this one was the most consistent methodology for everybody. So just remember that. Don't stress out that this is the only way, because it's not. I keep trying to put people #probably. Remember that. And it's one thing that we do try to do quite often is to explain to people that there is a new way to do it. Book selling is not one fits all whatsoever, which is both the benefit and the curse of our profession. It's a benefit because if it was that way, then all of the trad pubs would have all of the readers already tied up and you wouldn't get jack crap. But since it is this way, that means that there's constantly a new way for you to figure out how to acquire some readers. And it doesn't take that many readers of your books to change your life and theirs.
You don't have to love doing all the things, but you just have to know what things need to be done and do what you can to manage them. Like business cards, I'm down to, I went searching through everything. I guess I'm down to about 10 business cards. I don't know what happened to the rest. I think my dad asked for them during tax season, so I sent him a few hundred, and he gave them all away. And on my business card, I have a download link through BookFunnel for a free short story that has a great cover that is representative of my writing and style. It's science fiction. It's a story with a twist at the end, and I think it represents me pretty well. So I have 10 business cards, and I'm going to the Nebula conference next week, and I expect I'll come home with about 9 of them still in my pocket. But I'll update those and maybe have a couple giveaways. And if you take Mark Dawson's course, he recommends full books, like 2 or 3. Give the readers something to really sink their teeth into that represents you. And you're sitting there thinking, I've only written 2 books. I'm not going to write another one just so I can give all 3 away. Now, give 3 away when you have 30 or 20 out there. So everything is marketing. I make sure that books run their course. You get the revenue from it before putting it up for free. I do free promos on most of my books, and I said at one point that, boy, giving away a book for free is just chapping my ass. It's hard. I spent a month of my life or 2 months of my life writing this book. I spent all this money advertising it, and now I'm going to price it down to free and spend more money advertising it. And you know what? Those have been the most lucrative things I've ever done, as long as I had books behind it that could buy, that the readers could buy. Make sure your back matter is key. Your back matter points them to the next book, tells them that there's a bunch more books in this series. If you like this character, hey, he's in a lot more books, and here they are. Go forth and conquer. Kindle Unlimited is a good program for us because of volume. I mean, we have millions and millions of pages of published words. Pages, I think page count is still up there. I think my total published page count is 300, 400,000 words or pages for Kindle. So there's a lot of stuff out there that they can read.
That would be kind of hard. Let's do that math real quick. 300,000 or 400,000. If you assume that a typical 70,000 word book is 300 pages,
mm-hmm.
So you're talking 1,000 books.
100 books. Oh, so 30,000. 100 books of
yes,
300 pages would be 30,000 pages. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was off a single decimal point. What a suckhole. See, lawyer math, don't trust my math unless it's in a spreadsheet, and then you can trust it. You can take that to the bank.
Your spreadsheets are killer. I'll give you that. That's a work of art. But that particular off-the-cuff live maths, as Brian Cohen would call it, math, that didn't work too well.
No, but 30,000. So 30,000 KNP at a 0.005 rate is $1,550.
$150.
So one person reading all of my stuff, that's $150, even on through KU. And sales, it's probably it's more than double that, because a 300-page book will sell for $4.99, whereas a 0.005 is $1.50. So about double that. So it'd be about 300 if they bought all the books. So it's but reducing the price. How do you find readers? Take that first book to free. You've got 2, 3 books, 6 books, 11 books behind it. Take it to free Booksy, run some other ads on it, promote it any way you can, get a book bub if the gods are smiling on you, little g, not to be sacrilegious.
Well, another thing you can do, obviously, is, I mean, we because of where we're at, we have the income to do a lot of advertising, but there are a lot of posts on people who are successfully getting the word out, finding readers without spending either a lot of money or much money at all. Barry Hutchinson, who last year, in 20 Books London, he talked about how cheap, what a cheap bastard he was, and how he did everything. But even now, I saw something recently where Barry is finding a lot more readers in a completely different genre. So he switched out of funny sci-fi space opera stuff, and he went over to mystery thriller and is killing it over there. So from his perspective, there was a lot more value from him switching genres. And, so finding readers could mean changing up what you do. For ourselves, we've made a lot of good things. We've made a lot of mistakes. And one of those things where, trying to switch covers out, because what you're doing is you're refreshing what the reader is seeing, assuming that Amazon is the bookstore of choice. Then when they go through and they see all of the different ads and they see, the covers, and they see that your book is X, they've already made a decision a lot of times on your covers. And right now we're redoing my book one cover for Curse and Gambit one more time because we're going to push hard in July to be advertising this. And so we're like, you know what? That cover has already been seen millions and millions and millions of times on Amazon. People have probably seen it and they probably already made a decision on what to do. So we're revamping it and going to put something else out there.
Yep.
So think about it.
You want people who have made the decision, close but no cigar. Because if they showed it to 1 million people, that might have been 10,000 sales. Well, that means 990,000 people did not click on that picture. So you're going after that 990,000, and that's it's important. I'm changing covers. I'm changing probably 30 different covers over these next few months, the last months, and going forward, in order to gather those readers, give them a different look at the same book. It's a good book. I'm not knocking it. It has good reviews, lots of good reviews, but not everybody's reading it who should be reading it, in my opinion.
I like what you said right there. Let's presume it's not true, but let's presume that there was a hard stop of 1 million readers in your potential, and you were able to get your book, something you've worked very hard on, and you've been able to get out there and you've been able to touch them all, and you received 10,000 readers. Well, you're not done with a new cover and a new blurb. That's a new freaking book. Chances are they're not going to remember the title anyway, unless you got something really unique or really simple. And now you got 990,000 potential readers again. So I like how you said that.
Yeah, it's opportunity. It's the J.K. Rowling I mean, she got 9% of the entire market, but she's still going after that other 91%. I mean, it's out there. So touching noses, business cards, and you have to look at the cost. A lot of people go to conventions and they shake hands. They put the books on display. They have big banners. Chris Kennedy goes to a lot of shows and shows the flag. And maybe we'll get him on at one point and talk about the value, because he spends money. He drives sometimes because he's taking a lot of inventory and shipping it. There's higher costs, cost versus gain. Do you make your money back as well as show the flag in such a way that you're bringing the readers on board? I went to a convention in Iowa 2 years in a row, and the second year I was the second biggest selling author at the show, right after Joe Haldeman, and they forgot to put me in the in the program. So needless to say, I haven't been back. And I spent I lost 90 cents on the dollar there compared to what I could sell, because it was just expensive getting there. But I also had the opportunity. I was able to see my family that lives close by. So that's the only reason I went in the first place. But cost versus gain. If you're spending to go to conventions and stuff like that, you have high costs. Yes, you can write it off, but you've got to make the money in order to write it off. You can't be spending 10,000, make 1,000, and then keep carrying over 9,000 in debt. At one point in time, the IRS will shut you down and say, no, this is a hobby, not a profession. So understand through your tax professional the way you have to do. You have to make more money than you spend in order to write it off effectively. That's the bottom line from with my tax lawyer hat on.
Which I don't have.
So what you're doing, everything you're doing has a cost, and you can try to micro account for those costs, and it will drive you insane. I have spreadsheets, and I still look at the macro, the sum totals. I spent 10,000. I made 12,000 with new readers. Let me crank that spend down to 2,000 for next month. And if I make 12,000 again, then now we're at an ROI that I like, as opposed to spend 10,000 to make 12,000. You can look at it and say, okay, yeah, you made 20% in the course of a month. It's a significant rolling investment. 3 months later, you get that 12,000. So putting 10,000 in after you've made 12,000 is okay. So that's the business hat. If that drives you insane, makes your eyes bulge out and make veins throb in your neck and makes you want to puke, it's one of those things. You just have to do enough of it where you're not losing money, like going to conventions because you love people. You're that 9 on Michael's scale, and you've got 2 books out, and you go to Comic-Con and your books are mystery thrillers, then maybe you might not get the sales you need in order to.
You did not fish in the right pond.
You're not fishing in the right pond. That's right. And if you are, you might not be using the right bait. And we found that out with my Monster Case Files series, which I think is a well written, good series that has the engagement. It's just not a YA cozy mystery. So we did all of the months of prep work building a YA cozy mystery list, and yes, we're going to re-roll all of those. We'll put new covers on them and make it look less cartoonish. And I use those covers as an example here. You can spend little on the covers. It's just they really should represent the book better. So anyway, we'll re-roll those covers and re-roll the whole series. We've
And
got
find new readers.
9 books and go after the right readers. So we're going to change the bait and then cast it into the pond for a re-roll, because at this point all the expenses are there. We have them; they're paid for. So now it falls into the backlist is money category, and that's where we'll address it probably this fall. I expect I'll hit it pretty hard in October and November. You'll see on in the files section, I think I put it as a Google Doc, the running, here's the KENP for the life of the program thing. And looking at the, anybody can look at it. And what you're going to find is that October of every year, KENP value goes up. November, it's pretty high. December, it's high. Drops precipitously in January. And drops in that's February 15th when they tell you the January rate, it's going to be low. It
No,
drops.
but I thought this year January was okay. In February they killed us. Like January dropped a little bit, but February this year was bad.
January dropped a little bit, but December was really good. December was what 0.0051 or something like that. I guess maybe. I could bring up the file, but then we'd have real data, and I'd rather just make shit up.
No, why don't you go ahead and pull up the file? Pull up the file real quick, because I don't know. I haven't had an opportunity to see if Mark E. Cooper is still on K-boards, or if he's totally disconnected. But if anyone knows him, I would love to get a chance to talk to him. I know that he really does not like to get on anything like this whatsoever, but a phone call, just whatever. I'd really like to get to talk to him, because he did help me back in the beginning, and the man is just really a cool man. So,
okay, all right, man. The November rate was 0.0052, November 2018.
Okay.
It went down a little bit in December, 0.0049. Went to January's rate, which we found out on February 15th, was 0.0044.
Oh, really?
So it was the lowest. I think because you're thinking February, because it was reported in February, but it's for January. And then February went up to 0.0048, but then it went down in March to 0.0045.
Okay.
And January every year, 0.0044 for 2018. January 2017 was 0.0047, down from 0.0052, down from November 0.0053. So November and December for the last 3 years have been the highest numbers of the year. So yes, you're competing with traditional publishing. Is Michael still there? Can you see him?
Yeah, I can. Well,
if Michael can still, Michael, if you can release and hit in November and December, yes, TradPub is advertising heavy, but if you can keep your readers on board, drop a box set through KU, that's when you're going to get your biggest payout. So, are you still there, Michael?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you not hear me? I guess you can't hear me.
Did we lose Michael?
No, you didn't. But I'm right here.
I am not seeing. Oh, hey, I'm seeing Michael is gone completely. But so plan your year. Now we have enough data. 3 points is usually enough to start looking for a trend, and 3 years of October, November, and December suggests that October, November, and December are times that you can put out your box set, that you can do those things that you need to from the year to get the biggest rate. So anyway, that's a way to look at it. Thanks.
Did you get me?
Yeah, I got you back now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm over here going, yeah, I'm right here, man. Come on, I'm right. Oh, shit. I didn't do anything wrong this time. Where did I want to go? Oh, so it makes a lot of sense that November, December would be low, because there's a couple of things. Historically, the indie community has said, don't do anything, don't put anything out in November, December. It's not worth your time and effort. In general, that has been the message. I've done it because one, I wasn't listening in the first place, and two, I'm just on a steamrolling. I got to get shit out. So I've never had that mentality, but it did hit us this year. We were a lot higher. 2018, I noticed it a lot more because my first year back in 2016, I just wasn't high enough to get to hit against the headwinds of the trad pubs. I have noticed it quite a bit the last couple of years, but doing what you do and can do to acquire whatever pages you can acquire, they're going to be worth more. You don't have the competition, and frankly, there's a lot fewer people are also reading because you have their minds are elsewhere. Their minds are on Christmas. Their minds are on Thanksgiving. But man, what happens during that week of Thanksgiving? What happens during that week of Christmas is all of us readers, we grab our books and we tell the world to go screw themselves, and we go read because we're introverts and we're ready to do that. So just be aware that yes, it is much harder. The competition, the Facebook clicks. If I had to read one more mind-numbing, eye-bleeding comment on Facebook about someone bitching about how much Facebook clicks cost during that 2 months, I thought I'd go insane. Because yeah, it's going to. The competition is massively higher. TradPub seemed to be pushing a lot further into January this year than it had in my mind the previous couple of years. And so, they're coming after us, folks. We've had it easy. So what? They don't turn on a dime like we do. And frankly, they don't understand what we do. So a lot of times they're still stuck with the enterprise level mentality that they've had before in the past. And what might happen if the unforeseen happens and Barnes and Noble goes down, then where are they going to do? Right now, 55% of all, I believe, published books go through Amazon. So it's not like the biggest bookstore is going to go down. It's just the biggest bookstore will now get more books, which has an opportunity for people who've done paper to finally go, you know what? If I'm going to go to Amazon anyway, then I'll just get one of these Kindle confabulations and let them do that. So it is a constant effort to see what's going on. One of the biggest things they say in business, normal business, is that if business is going down, lean into it, because everybody starts cutting their advertising, cutting what's going on in order to save money. And those that lean into it and are aggressive during this time, when things turn around, they're on top. And so their momentum is a lot higher. So we certainly want to encourage that. And that's the same thing for finding readers. There are readers everywhere. Put your thinking cap on and find out whether or not anyone is addressing readers in an area that we're not talking about. We talk about Facebook. We talk about Amazon. We talk about Google. We talk about Instagram. We talk about Twitter and LinkedIn. What is it that we're not talking about? And the answer could be that we're not talking about paper in a certain area, because if you got 21 books, what is it to get one paper in their hand and then tell them the rest are digital? If they love your book enough, they might switch over.
Yeah.
They have a phone in their hand. They don't need to buy a Kindle.
Yeah, it's the value of the reader. However, different methodologies you can use to get them. For my release strategies book, I searched James Patterson looking for how many thrillers he's releasing in 2019, because he has pre-orders for all the way through Christmas. And when I searched, I go to Amazon, type in James Patterson, okay? And what was the first line on the James Patterson search?
Michael Anderle.
Mark Dawson.
I was so close. So close, and yet not even close.
What did he pay for that? But I searched James Patterson, and here's a book that looks very Patterson-esque. It looks thriller. It's got a lot of reviews. There it is. But somebody looking for a James Patterson book sees that, hey, there's other people who may write James Patterson style books. So that in and of itself says this book is like James Patterson. So when you target somebody, make sure you're good enough that's it. So don't spend a fortune targeting J.K. Rowling if your books aren't J.K. Rowling's. So know who you are like. I targeted Anne McCaffrey with some of my first books, because I that was the style that I was trying to get to, but it wasn't there yet. And I cut those back because the first few people who said, "Oh, oh, hey, Craig Martelle," and they open them, they're like, "Holy shit, this isn't Anne McCaffrey." and yeah, Andre Norton, Robert Heinlein, much closer fits. So understand, and target realistically.
Yeah, it would really kind of suck to get the wrong reader, because what they're going to happen, they're not going to read book two. Their cost of their acquisition is going to be high, and then they're going to deliver a bad review. Now, in general, occasionally some of those bad reviews are actually beneficial. Craig has taken a horrible review and made it one of his best performing Facebook posts, but that's because he martelled the hell out of it. But for a lot of us, that's not always the best solution. This is not Anne McCaffrey. Well, no shit, Sherlock. It's in a post-apocalyptic book.
Yeah. Oh no, that was the bad review was, why all the swearing? Clearly, this person had never met a Marine before. But anyway, that's so.
There you go.
Yeah,
You need to do clean marine romance. That's a new genre. Hit it right now before anyone else goes out and write it. Oh, too late. The romance are already all over it.
It is not a new genre. Believe me, there are plenty. And
clean marine.
Yes.
Clean marine.
Yes. Clean marine romance. And I'll be goddamned if it's a Marine ever quality check that, because it is the clean romance writer's perception of what a clean Marine would look like. So and I'm one of the abs. I am far more mild than most of the Marines I know. So anyway, if you think my language is offensive, you should read. Yeah.
Okay, so just as a totally aside, because occasionally people might want to know, but when I met you, you only wrote clean-ish YA stuff, and you had to. I remember. I don't remember jack shit from my past normally, but I remember you having to go back to your readership and going, there might be a few curse words in this new post-apocalyptic I'm doing over here when the Terry stuff.
What? Because I was modeling after Anne McCaffrey, Andre Norton, Robert Heinlein, who avoided that kind of language just because of the era and how they published. That the publishers didn't go with F-bombs in science fiction until Joe Haldeman came along and said, "Hey, I got a story for you, man," with the Forever War. So you and he had just come out of Vietnam when he wrote that. So that is more representative of military of the era. Yes, I was raised wrong in that era of the Marine Corps. But I said I think I can revert. I was trying to get away from swearing because I worked as a lawyer and a business consultant, and dropping F-bombs wasn't so cool in the corner office, needless to say. So I was trying to get away from that. I worked for a Mormon company as well, so you know how that was worked out. So F-bombs were not cool in those meetings either. So I got away from it, and then I met Michael. So Buck,
and then everything went downhill from there.
And I reverted back to 19.
All right, so I think that we've done some on the finding the readers. It is possible to do it. High value readers are readers that read a lot of books. So having that expectation, they have a much wider tolerance usually, although some of them certainly will. I want to talk just for a second about let's say it's a whale reader who reads clean stuff. Then they're going to go across multiple genres because they can only go so deep in a particular area unless we're feeding enough into that. But if you look at other ones, they're going to forgive you perhaps a cover if your blurb is really freaking amazing. If your reviews say great space opera and it really made me laugh out loud, or this particular vampire story is not doesn't twinkle, which is one of the things that some of the fans said about mine. It's like if you're hitting it, you're going to cause them to be curious. They're allowed to open up, see the first few pages, buy the book, or hit it on Kindle Unlimited. I'll tell you, myself, I'd rather download it on Kindle Unlimited, read the same amount of stuff as the look inside, and then just toss it back. I didn't want to read or download the free part of it and then get to it and go, well, shit, now I have to download the rest of the book. So I would just download the whole thing in the beginning, and you get credit for that anyway. So wonderful. Yeah. Amazon is constantly changing their own pages. which is why you have some of our software in our industry that breaks from time to time. Well, it's because Amazon changed something. Due to that, somebody I bet we could have plenty of people raise their hands right now. How many of you have been frustrated because what was working last week, Amazon changed something, and now it doesn't frickin' work? Well, we don't think about the fact that there was somebody last week who was bitching because nothing they did worked, and now this week it's mysteriously working. We don't hear too many of those. And then, of course, a week later, Amazon does something again. But that's just our life. If you want something that's going to stay consistent, I suggest maybe going and learning how to grow grass. That's pretty consistent. Not weed grass, Martelle. But
that's just up the road. They actually put in a whole farm, I think a mile from me, that they are going to farm a huge plot of marijuanas.
Okay, so how in the hell does that work when you guys are like dead half the year and it goes sub 30 degree? Are they putting it inside of some sort of glass hothouse or anything?
We grow fast. 24 hours of daylight really helps growth. So my rhubarb plant grew 6 inches in one day. The day it hits 68 degrees. Now, I kid you not, we have green up, which it's the single day that all the leaves and everything turns green. You'll look at a hillside and it'll be all brown. The next day, if it's green up, it'll be all green because all the leaves popped out at one time. So even though our growing season is short, 4 months, they're putting in this huge thing, and they're going to grow weed, and then they'll probably roll it into a greenhouse, take whatever they need to, seeds, roll it into a greenhouse. They get the starter plants and then roll it out and grow it in the massive field during the short summer and the high intensity growing season. 24 hours of daylight, man.
I can only imagine if someone accidentally torched that. Martelle is high as hell.
My best words, they're coming, man. My best words. And we have a lot of wildfires up here, so every year there'll be a week where we have to shut the windows and it's hot because the smoke smell, the forest fire smoke, and then I can't go outside at all. I try not to die. That's the best time to stay inside and run I've got a whole house air filter as well, so I can recycle the air within the house.
Better get 2 or 3, you're going to be high.
Yeah. Don't torch the weed field. I can see some people doing that. We've got we have some clans up here that are anti-weed. I just want them to tax the hell out of it, so they don't put in a state income tax, which they're not going to do this year. It looks like, which is way cool with me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the reasons to stay in Alaska. So, if you have other questions, certainly hit them up. We'll try to come back around. I hope this has been enjoyable here for everybody. I would like to get a few other people. I think we could, to let Craig Crass them interview them and get a variety of stuff that's going on. But Jamie Albright, she had a explanation of where she has a 6-figure income with only 3 books in the romantic comedy area. She did that with Brian and Jim over on their event here last weekend in Chicago, Somewhere Book Show event. And, for those of you that are looking at it as going, man, how do these guys 20 books? They're writing 20 books in a day. It's not a day, folks. 20 books to 50K was supposed to be just, if you get to 20 books, you can have a 50K annual salary. And I was looking at taking, a year and a half to write these, or 14 months or something, to write 17 more books to get to my 20, 50K. So life changed. It did better than that, which is great, but that's the genesis of the name. And so, we're here just to say, build a business, build a backlist. It could take you 6 weeks. It could take you 6 months, 6 years. It doesn't matter. Your particular marathon or sprint is up to you. The only person you're competing with is yourself. Don't look to everybody else and say, hey, they're doing better than me, because that's stress. And frankly, it doesn't help whatsoever. I've had to personally learn to look at J.K. Rowling as the person I'm going after, because it doesn't matter who goes above me or below me or I'm doing better than. I'm always behind J.K. Rowling, and it's the only way I can deal with it. So hope that helps.
Yeah, and you'll notice my very, very trim haircut. I actually have to put on my uniform next week for the Nebula conference. I'm wearing my Marine Corps mess dress, and we went on a weight challenge. I got down to 191.8 and then kept eating. So I'm at 193 as of this morning. but I do fit into my uniform. And
Yeah, but you're down 5, 8, 6 pounds or something, aren't you?
I'm down 7.5 since we started.
Okay.
And so I'll be in uniform for the Nebula finalists for the Nebula award ceremony is what it is. And we've got 6 people who will be there and in the running. We have high hopes that we'll get one winner out of those 6 indies, and I will be there supporting them regardless. So
yes,
Michael will be there, Judith, me, and a host of other indies. We will have
Richard
a
Fox.
fairly healthy presence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Many of us will be there.
Yep. That's about it. Finding readers. Keep plugging. You can never take your foot off the finding reader gas pedal, because you never know that when the next reader is going to pick up everything you have. And that's where backlist is money. And even if you don't have a backlist, you have only one book out, you still need readers to read that one book and give you feedback, so you know you're going in the right direction. I love this book. When's the next one coming out? Maybe you need that kind of influence, that pressure, because if the readers are loving your first book, well then, hey, help them to love the second book. So keep writing, keep reading, because reading is what we do. That's where we all started. And
peace out, man.
Peace, fellow humans.